Hi, this is Shannon. This is Cycle 1, Week 21, Tutor and Memory Work Ideas. I'm excited to share with you some ideas you can use as a tutor on Community Day, and you can also use these ideas at home with your kids too. And make sure you stick around to the end of my video because I have some more fun memory work games and activities that you can do with your kids at home this week that align with the memory work from Week 21. If you are new to my channel, I am a homeschooling mom of 3 little ones, 5, 3, and 1. And we do classical homeschooling and love it. And I have the privilege of tutoring the obesitarians this year. So that's the 4 through 7-year-olds. Now I have some 7-year-olds. So these ideas are with them in mind, but you can definitely use these with older kids or adjust them a little bit. Also, if you haven't already, make sure you check out my picture book list for the second semester of Cycle 1. I have great picture books for each week, starting at week 13 through week 24, and the books just relate to the memory work for each week. So I will link that below. Check that out if you haven't already. We are going to start with English this week. We are doing the helping and linking verb to be. So what I did is in these little notebooks, I've shown these in my other videos, but they're preschool line notebooks. I have one for each kid in my group. The kids have been using them all year. I prepped them beforehand with part of the definition or the words, whatever we're doing. So this week I wrote helping and linking verb. I left a blank horizontal line for the kids to write to be. And then I left a blank space for the kids to write the first letter of each word. You could definitely customize this to the level of the kids in your group. That's one of the reasons I love this. You could have them write more or less of this. You could always write certain words or letters in dots so the kids can trace. You can also customize for individual kids. So if you have a couple kids who are older, you could leave more blanks for them to write. And more younger kids, you could write more for them or leave more dots for them so they can trace. So I have these on the table for the kids when they walk in. I have each notebook decorated with the name of the child and a biology scene for this cycle. So this is on my blog if you want to use this. This is not an actual name of a kid in my class, it's just an example, as I've said before. So I will help the kids know what to write. We will talk about each helping and linking verb. We will say it, and I will have the kids help me determine what letter each one starts with, and they'll write that letter in their book. And then I'm going to teach them a song to the tune She'll Be Coming Round the Mountain. And it goes like this. Helping and linking verb to be. Am, are, is, was, were, be, being, been. Helping and linking verb to be. Am, are, is, was, were, be, being, been. Helping and linking verb to be. Am, are, is, was, were, be, being, been. Helping and linking verb to be. Am, are, is, was, were, be, being, been. Then I'm going to give each of the kids a silly voice card. If you've watched my past videos, you've heard me talk about these. These are free on my blog, so I'll link them below in the description. But they're really fun. The kids in my group just love doing some part of the memory work in silly voices. So, for example, slow, soft voice, high-pitched voice, through your teeth, lights off, etc. So each kid will get a silly voice card, and then we will sing the linking and helping verb to be song in these different silly voices. So for example, if we have opera style, then we'll sing it helping and linking verb to be, etc. So it's really fun, good way for them to sing it lots of times, and it just always makes them laugh. Also for English, I like to review the whole preposition song that we did first semester with the hand motions because it's just fun, the kids love it, and we are going to present it to the parents at the end of the year ceremony. So I will also review that. You could do that during the review time as well. And I will link below, I have a video that shows the whole song and the hand motions in slow motion. So I will link that below so you can see it if you want a refresher. For timeline this week, I have my timeline cards and the big letters I get from the dollar store taped on them. I like to tape the first letter of each event on each card to just help the younger kids who can't read yet identify them. For timeline this week, I am going to have one kid go outside of our little room, and I'll have a parent with them, or if there's a parent in the hallway to help. And while that kid is outside the door, we'll shut the door so they can't hear or see what we're doing. The rest of the kids will find a spot to hide the first timeline card. So the first timeline card is World War II and President Franklin D. Roosevelt. So they'll kind of work together to decide on a place to hide this card. Once it's hidden, I'll tell them, okay, when Tommy comes back in, we're gonna sing this week's part of the timeline song, but we're gonna sing it quietly if Tommy's far away from the card, and louder if Tommy gets closer to the card to help Tommy know where the card is. So then we'll tell Tommy to come back in, we'll explain that to him, what we're gonna do, and then he'll start to find it. So this week's part of the timeline song kind of goes like this. World War II and President Franklin D. Roosevelt. So we might start, World War II and President Franklin D. Roosevelt. Then say Tommy's getting closer. Well, Stalin of the USSR and the Katyn Massacre. You know, if he's getting closer, and maybe he's went far away again. The United Nations formed. The Cold War. Maybe he's close again. So obviously as the tutor, you're really going to have to lead with this because the kids probably aren't going to be able to do this well the first couple times. But they'll catch on quickly, and then they can hopefully join with you. If they can't join, then at least they're hearing it a lot too. And it's fun. The kids love playing this. I've done this before with timeline. I've done it with other parts of the memory work. This is like a favorite. They just love it. But every kid will want to go, so just think beforehand, how many kids do you have? You know, you might have a couple kids either go together on one of them, or you could just repeat a card so everybody gets a turn. We'll do that for each card. Each kid will get a turn to go outside the room, and then the other kids will hide the card, and then that kid will come in, and we'll sing it louder or softer depending on where they are. And then once they find the card, they will stick it up on the wall. So I'll have 7 pieces of painter's tape up on the wall, and they'll stick the card up in the correct spot. And then once all the cards are up on the wall, if you want and have time, then you could go over the motions with the kids again. For the motions this week, World War II. So world, we're going to do W, World War II, just like World War I. World War II and President Franklin D. Roosevelt. So we're going to do an F, so touch our thumb and our pointer finger together for F, Franklin. And then we're going to put our other fingers down and just hold one finger up for D. And then Roosevelt, we're going to twist our middle finger and pointer finger together for R. So Franklin D. Roosevelt. And then Stalin of the USSR, we're going to kind of trace our mustache. Stalin of the USSR and the Katyn Massacre. One finger go under our hand for the Katyn, and then Massacre, we're going to go like that. So the Katyn Massacre. And then United Nations formed, we're going to take our middle finger and thumb and bring them together and link them. So United Nations formed. And then the Cold, we're going to act like we're Cold War. Cold War. Gandhi, so we're going to make a G for Gandhi. Gandhi. And India's independence. So Gandhi and India's independence. And then Jewish state, we're going to make a little beard for Jewish. Jewish state established, we're going to make just an S, so like a fist basically, and go like this. So Jewish state established. And then Mao, so we're going to make an M. We're going to put our thumb under our 3 fingers and go out like this. So Mao and Communist victory in China. We're going to touch the 3 buttons of our Chinese suit. I'll do it to the tune so you can see. World War II and President Franklin D. Roosevelt. Stalin of the USSR and the Katyn Massacre. United Nations formed. The Cold War. Gandhi and India's independence. Jewish state established. Mao and Communist victory in China. For geography this week, we are learning about the Canadian waters. So I'm going to use the same map I used last week. If you watched my video, you can download these maps from my blog post of these tutor ideas. So I will link it below. And I just like this map because it makes them bigger than the Trivium table maps that I've used in the past. I'm going to go ahead and prep these maps by outlining each of the waters with marker. So I'm not putting these maps in the dry erase sleeves that I did last week because of the sticker part that I'll explain in a second. But because I have younger kids, I do want to outline these waters and show where these lakes are. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to hand these maps out, and then I'm going to go over each of these waters, and we're going to do a fun little motion to help us remember each of these. The first one is Great Bear Lake, which is blue here, and for Great Bear Lake, we're going to curl our fingers up and be a bear. So Great Bear Lake, Great Bear Lake, like that. And then Great Slave Lake is the pink one, just a little bit below. And for Great Slave Lake, we're going to act like we're crying because being a slave is sad. So Great Slave Lake. So we've got Great Bear Lake and Great Slave Lake. And then Hudson Bay is outlined in orange here. So for Hudson Bay, we are going to go brr, because there's a lot of icy waters in the Hudson Bay. Brr. So we've got Great Bear Lake, we've got Great Slave Lake, and we've got Hudson Bay, like that. Then for Baffin Bay, we're going to act like we're taking a bath, since it kind of sounds like bath. So we're going to go Baffin Bay, like water falling, Baffin Bay. And then for Labrador Sea, we're going to act like a dog. Labrador Sea, like ho, 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 Labrador Sea, we're like a dog. We've got Great Bear Lake, and we've got Great Slave Lake, and Hudson Bay, and Baffin Bay, and Labrador Sea. So the kids will have fun with that, just making those little motions as we go over each one. I'm also going to teach them a song to He's Got the Whole World in His Hands, and it goes like this. Canadian waters, Great Bear Lake, Great Slave Lake, Hudson Bay, Baffin Bay, and Labrador Sea. Canadian waters, Canadian waters, Great Bear Lake, Great Slave Lake, Hudson Bay, Baffin Bay, Labrador Sea, Canadian waters. Then just for fun, I'm going to give each of the kids a polar bear sticker because polar bears live around this area. And my daughter loves polar bears, so if there's an excuse to bring polar bears into it, I'm going to do it. I got this fun book. There's a lot of polar bear stickers, and I'm going to let them stick the polar bear on their sheet, and that's the reason I wanted it to not be laminated or in that dry erase sleeve this week, because I'm going to let the kids take this home, and it'll be a good review tool for them at home. Also for geography, I've talked about this before, so bear with me if you've heard it. And I know we're past Africa, but I just wanted to still tell you about this Africa countries book I made. My kids and I are still really enjoying going through it and talking about each country. In the morning, we do a couple countries. So my daughter just did this morning South Africa. So you can see she colored in the South Africa, the zoomed in part, and we learned about an animal that lives there, and she colored the flag. We learned a fun fact about the food, that it's the only country with 3 capitals. So this one she did, you can see a blank one that she hasn't done yet, Nigeria, for example. So it has all the African countries in it. It has the flags in the back that the kids can look at as they color them. So just a fun little tool that you can use as you learn about Africa this year. Again, I know we're past Africa right now, but still wanted to share it with you because you can learn about it anytime. And I get lots of questions about the map behind me, this Africa map I made. I've also made a United States one. I'm excited to make other continents, but those are the only ones I've done so far. The countries snap on and off. They have these little snaps on the back, and they're just made of felt. So I have an almost 2-year-old, so he can't rip or tear them or bend them, so it works really well. So if you want to make a map like this, I have the Africa and the United States patterns in my Etsy shop and the instructions on how to do it and the materials you need and everything. So I will link that below too. For math this week, we are starting to learn about our properties. And this week we are learning about the associative law of addition and multiplication. So what I did is I made these little puzzles, these little puzzle pieces I cut out. I did them in 2 different colors. So I've got the property with addition in green and multiplication in blue. And I'm going to give the kids each a baggie with these puzzle pieces. And they're going to put them together. And when you put them together, as you can see in my picture, they make the different laws. So they're pretty simple puzzles. It won't take them that long. It's a good hands-on way to just help them see what the associative law looks like. I'm also going to teach them a song to help them remember, and I'll be singing this as they're putting their puzzle pieces together to the tune Do Lord, and it goes like this. The associative law for addition states, open parenthesis, A plus B, close parenthesis, plus C equals A plus open parenthesis, B plus C, close parenthesis. And then you can keep singing it for multiplication. So the associative law for multiplication states, open parenthesis, A times B, close parenthesis, times C equals A times open parenthesis, B times C, close parenthesis. So we will sing that together. I'll help the kids put the puzzle pieces together. We'll kind of just point to each part of our puzzle as we sing a few times. And you can download these puzzles if you want to use them for free from my blog post. So I will link that again in the description. For history this week, we are learning about the exploration of Canada. And I'm sticking with my silly words because the kids love it and they're so engaged during it. So it's working really well. So what I do is I tell them, okay, we're going to listen really carefully to the song and follow along on my tutor board for those that can read. And we want to listen really carefully because in a minute I'm going to throw some silly words in. And if you hear a silly word, you have to raise your hand and tell me what it is. So the song goes like this. John Cabot and Samuel de Champlain explored Canada and the St. Lawrence River. Creation of the Hudson's Bay Company in 1670 eventually led to war between Britain and France. The maple leaf is the symbol of Canada. So we'll listen to that and then I'll say, okay, now I'm going to sing it and throw some silly words in. And if you hear a silly word, raise your hand and tell me what it is. So I will start out saying, John Rabbit. Rabbit? Not rabbit. What should it be? Oh, Cabot. Okay. John Cabot and Samuel de Champlain Complain? No. What should it be? Oh, Champlain. Okay. John Cabot and Samuel de Champlain explored Canada and the St. Lawrence River. Florence? Not Florence. What should, oh, Lawrence. So I'll keep going, and as you can see, I go back to the beginning each time and sing it correctly until the next silly word. So the silly words I used this week were rabbit instead of Cabot, complain instead of Champlain, Florence instead of Lawrence, nay instead of bay, roar instead of war, ants instead of France, and dimple instead of symbol. So after I do all the silly words, then we'll just sing it together normally a couple of times. For Latin this week, we are learning the 4th declension noun endings. And I did this a couple weeks ago and it was a hit. The kids just loved it. So I'm going to do this again where I'm going to have the noun endings written up on my tutor board and I'm going to sing the song as I point to each one and have the kids sing with me if they know it or just kind of listen and watch me. So the song goes like this. Us, oos, ooey, ooh. Us, oos, ooey, ooh. Us, oos, ooey, ooh. Singular for declension. Us, ibis, us, ibis. Us, ibis, us, ibis. Us, ibis, us, ibis. Plural for declension. Then I'm going to have a volunteer to tell me one I can circle up on my tutor board. So, for example, if they choose ooey, U-I with a line over it, I would circle that one. And I will tell the kids, okay, we're going to start out sitting, but when we sing ooey, we have to stand up and stay standing until we sing it again. When we sing it again, we sit down, stay seated until we sing it again, then stand up, etc. So we only change our position each time we sing it. So I'll just start out singing the singular, because that's a singular one. So it'll go like us, oos, ooey, and then we'll stand up. ooh. Us, oos, ooey. Then we'll sit down. Ooh. Us, oos, ooey. Stand up. Ooh. Singular for declension. So then I'll have another volunteer tell me another one to circle. Maybe they choose oos, like U with the line over S. So then we'll have to stand and sit when we hear that one too. So we'll start out sitting again, and then anytime we hear the oos or the ooey, we have to change our position. So if we start out us, oos, we stand up, ooey, sit down, ooh, us, oos, stand up, ooey, sit down, ooh, us, oos, stand up, ooey, sit down, ooh, singular for declension. Then we can keep going because that's one in the purl too. So we could go oos. So we stand up, ibis, and then sit down, oos, ibis. Stand up, oos, ibis. Sit down, oos, ibis. Oos, stand up, ibis, oos, ibis. Plural for declension. Then I'll have another kid give me another one to circle. It gets to where we're basically standing and sitting like every single time, and they love it. It's just so fun. It's a little chaotic, a little crazy, but it's really fun. For science this week, we are learning about the 5 circles of latitude. I got this little blow up globe from the dollar store, and I just outlined the 5 circles of latitude with Sharpie. What I'm going to do is first just show them each of the 5 circles of latitude. So we'll talk about how the equator is in the middle. Then we've got the Tropic of Cancer, Tropic of Capricorn. We've got the Arctic Circle up here and the Antarctic Circle down here. I'm going to have us sit in a circle, and we're going to sing a song to the tune The Muffin Man, and it goes like this. What are 5 circles of latitude? Arctic Circle, Tropic of Cancer, Equator, Tropic of Capricorn, Antarctic Circle. What are 5 circles of latitude? Arctic Circle, Tropic of Cancer, Equator, Tropic of Capricorn, Antarctic Circle. So we're going to pass it around as we sing it, and then the kid who has the ball at the end gets to throw it up. Only at the end, I'll emphasize that, but at the end of the song, the kid who has it gets to throw it up, and I'll just make sure each child gets a chance to do that. Then I have these little balls too that I'm gonna let the kids take home. I found these on Amazon for less than $1 each. I outlined the circles of latitude on this one, but you definitely don't have to do that. And I'm just gonna let the kids take these home just for fun. For review this week, we're gonna play a game called Invisible Man. So I'm gonna draw up 2 stick figure people on my big whiteboard. One will be a girl, one will be a boy, and I'll just do medium detail, so put some eyes, some ears on them, some hair, some glasses maybe a mustache on the boy, a shirt, some socks maybe on one of them, just a few random things like maybe a belt on the boy or a necklace on the girl, just a few defining things like that. I will name them. So for example, I could call the girl Lady Glitter Socks and the boy Mustachio, something like that, just for fun. So I'll refer to them like their names. So Lady Glitter Socks and Mustachio. So I'll tell the kids our goal is to make them invisible. And the way we make them invisible is every time we answer a review question correctly, we get to erase part of their body. So for example, we could erase Lady Glitter Sock's necklace, or we could erase Mustachio's eyes, So I will ask some review questions and tell the kids to raise their hand if they know. So if a kid answers, then they will come up and erase a body part off of Lady Glitter Socks or Mustachio. And I like to just ask review questions on the fly. So I might say, hey, tell me what is one of the helping verbs that we've learned the past couple weeks? What is an area in Mesoamerica that you remember? What was a part of a volcano? What kind of volcano is actually erupting? Things like that. So I just like having my foundations guide in front of me, and I can just kind of flip to one of the previous weeks and ask a question. And I'll make sure each kid gets a chance to come up and erase a body part. So the game ends when the bodies are all gone and they're invisible. As I promised, I want to show you the memory work activities that you can do at home with your kids this week. These are totally free. You can download them from my blog. I will link in the description how to find them, but I have this in the Canadian Waters dice game. So I had this last week too. It includes all the areas in Canada that we learn about. And I have an answer key to it, and then just a blank map too. Then I have my Latin noun endings bingo game. I have lots of different bingo cards that you can use to practice all the Latin noun endings. And then I have some linking verb cards now. So I have helping verb cards, and then these linking verb cards. It includes the definition of a linking verb that we did last week. And then you can play memory with these cards, or you can print somewhere out and play Go Fish, or you can just use them as a reference. For history, I have this word game and cards that go with it. So you can draw a card and then find the matching picture. They all match with part of the history sentence. For math, I have this What's the Scoop properties activity. So each part of the ice cream has a different property on it. So this will include all the different mathematical properties we learn. And then it tells a color to color the ice cream scoop depending on what property it is. So I have 4 different forms of this with the properties mixed around, and I have different properties that I actually substitute numbers into. So just a fun activity that your kids can do for a few weeks as they learn the properties. And then for science, I have a 5 circles of latitude puzzle. So you can go ahead and cut out along the gray lines, and then your kids can practice putting it together. So again, you can download all of those for free from my blog. I will link in the description where you can get those. And check out my picture book list, my Cycle 1, week 13 through 24 book recommendation list. So I'll link that below too. And the Africa book that I showed if you are interested in using it with your kids. Also, as we're getting closer to the end of the year, I want to share a couple review games that you can play with your kids. So I made this Monopoly, I call it Historopoli board game that I'm really excited about. It's Monopoly style, so there's cards that go with it and history-themed currency and little game markers, everything you need to play. Just a great way to review history. It reviews all of Cycle 1 history. Check it out, I'll link below where you can find that. Also, I made this Science Old Maid card game. So it has the science memory work on it. So I have 4 different Old Maid cards that you can choose from, like the Imposter Crystal, the Stubborn Sediment, and a couple others. So cards like Everest in Asia for highest mountains, Equator. So this game you can download for free. I will link that in the description as well. So just some fun ways you can review with your kids as we near the end of the year. Thanks so much for watching. If you're enjoying these videos, please subscribe to my channel. I post 1 video at least per week, sometimes more, about homeschooling, tutor ideas, memory work, songs, healthy living, and recipes that we are making. Also, check out my Instagram. I like to post what I do with my kids throughout the week, homeschooling wise, and check out my blog where I have blog posts on every week in Cycle 1 so far, what we do at home, and tutor ideas, and lots of fun, healthy recipes too, because my family is passionate about that. Thank you so much for watching, and have a great day.